These are the Russian combat losses as of January 2023. Welcome to New Year's, my friends. 110,000 KIA, over 6,000 infantry fighting vehicles, over 3,000 tanks. Of course, there are lists which only contain Russian losses which are proved by video or photo, and these lists are smaller, but the numbers are still huge. If war carries on with this tempo for another year, Russia will run out of tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, trucks and planes. Welcome to the military map, my friends. The night before, Ukrainians carried out several attacks on Russian gathering positions, logistic warehouses. We're going to go through all of these attack locations now. There are several of them. Or it might be that Russians were just smoking very carelessly in the past 24 hours. Look where my mouse pointer is. There is no such place on this map, but there's a settlement called Gavrilovka around here. I'll zoom out for you. Around here, this was the base and gathering point of Russian occupiers, and new Mavics were sent there. As you can see, this area here is on the very range of HIMARS capabilities, but they struck the base. It was used as a gathering area for up to 5 days, and supposedly there were up to 1,000 personnel based there. According to preliminary data and telegram messages, about 100 were wounded, and about 20 officers were also wounded or killed. The rubble is still being cleared out. It only just happened. I don't know how to say this in Russian, but don't smoke carelessly, my friends. Be careful, smoke and start fires, it's dangerous. This is a settlement of Radensk. We're still in the Kherson region, and we zoom into it, and there's a settlement of Jelburda. Between these two settlements there's a warehouse around here somewhere. You cannot see it. It's around this vicinity, and this was attacked by HIMARS last night, or the Russians smoked carelessly, who knows. Anyway, this warehouse housed S-300 missiles, and it was demilitarized. It was knocked out cold. Local partisans reported huge explosions. There are reports of dozens of KIA. Now we jump to Crimea, Nizhnekorsky, this settlement right here, but this is a city. Actually, there's a whole oblast called Nizhnekorsky around where I'm pointing right now, and these videos come from there. Ukraine conducted a drone attack last night, and Russians, as you can see, attempted to shoot down the drones with machine guns, with tracer bullets so they can see where they're aiming at. This didn't work. The drones got through, and Russians smoked carelessly again. What are you gonna do? If you want nicotine, you gotta get your nicotine. And here we zoom in. This is of course Bakhmut. The heaviest fighting is going around this city. We will watch an update from that city later. In this video we can hear sad Kadyrovite noises, because this was a Kadyrovite unit, and all their vehicles, armored vehicles and trucks, fueling trucks, logistic trucks, were all parked in this hangar warehouse. And I don't know who did it, but somebody smoked very carelessly and knocked accidentally out cold all of their vehicles. They woke up to a pleasant surprise of no vehicles. They were a mechanized Kadyrovite unit. Now they're turned into an infantry Kadyrovite unit. Sad Kadyrovite noises. Look, this is Kherson, and this is a small island next to it. An island in the river, right? And there's a bridge going to that island, and that island hosts a zoo. The very same zoo that Russians stole the raccoon from. I'm very sure you know that story. But for some reasons Russians attacked that bridge that leads to that zoo. And this can be seen on this video here. I cannot for the life of me understand why they did it. But Special Kherson Cat, I'm a big fan of that Twitter account. He has the theory that Russians attacked the bridge so Ukrainians couldn't investigate the theft of the raccoon. Ukrainians want their raccoon back, and they're investigating, and Russians attacked the bridge so Ukrainians couldn't send their investigators onto the island. This, my friends, is the Ivan logic. It's time for the SitRep situation update from Bakhmut. Dmitry, the Twitter account, shares these videos from soldiers directly in Bakhmut, so there is no better way to get your updates than directly from boots on the ground. Let's go. 6th of January, Bakhmut today.
Вітання, Україна, місто Бахмут. 6 січня. Друзі, наразі...
Yeah, it was translated 6th of April. It's January, just saying. It's not an old video, it's from today. It was uploaded 1 hour ago when I'm shooting this video.
Ситуація, яка склалась в місті Бахмут, дуже складна. За минулу і позаминулу добу просто маси піхоти, артилерійського вогню, Мордор лізе, намагається прорвати наші позиції. На деяких напрямках там на 50 на 100 метрів не вдалося просунутися. Просто такі пристрелюються. Колосальні маси піхоти і дуже, мабуть, багато БК підвезли. Тривають постійні штурми, атаки. Лінія оборони в таких надважких умовах тримається. Місто стоїть. Але, друзі, хотілося б зазначити, що ЗСУ робить все можливе і неможливе для того, щоб втримати місто і Бахмут, щоб був українським. Але для цього і ЗСУ, мабуть, потрібна якась допомога.
They do need help. How Russians are working in Bakhmut is they are sending first wave the prisoners from Wagner, you know, prisoners from Russian prisons, sending them, they die because Ukrainians shoot them down. Then Russian forces in the back, the regular forces, they bail out Ukrainian artillery positions because they relieve themselves by shooting the prisoners, and then Russians bombard the Ukrainian artillery positions. In this way, Ukrainians have to always move their positions and rotate their troops because Bakhmut is very tiring on the soldiers. And since Wagnerites are not running out of prisoners, they can repeat this day after day. And in this way also Putin gets rid of prisoners in Russia because Russia has to feed them, keep them warm. I mean, if they die in Bakhmut, Putin is saving some money on Russian prison systems. So this is how Russia works. And be this tactic as barbaric as it is, unfortunately it yields some minimal results. 50 meters a day, 100 meters a day. And Ukrainians are taking heavy losses also in Bakhmut. Now the point is, which will run out of men before? Ukraine or Russian prisoners, because without those prisoners the regular units cannot shoot at Ukrainian positions, and the regular units will not storm the Ukrainian positions like the prisoners. For Russian gain in Bakhmut, prisoners are essential. That's the only tactic that still works for them.
Ті ж Мавіки, які коригують вогонь переднього краю, танки, артилерію, міномети, і за які наш міністр Резніков сказав, що вони не потрібні, так от, ну, я не знаю. Друзі, трошки в нас стрім перервався, деякі товариші не дають довести. Так от, пане Резніков, можливо, вам не докладували, але Мавіки на даний час, Mavic 3, вони, як і розвідувальні, як і ударні БПЛА, мабуть, саме основну роль виконують. І це в основному волонтерські. Дуже б хотілося, щоб ми централізовано закупали їх для Збройних сил на той час, поки будуть, скажімо так, матрикси, аутели і більш серйозніші види БПЛА.
Mavic 3 DJI is truly an all-purpose drone in Ukraine. You're gonna just fire with it artillery missions, then you can use it as an attack drone by attaching small grenades onto it. You can use it as a recon drone. You can add night vision to it. It's an all-purpose drone. And in the civilian world, you have this Mavic. You take care of it. It lasts you 3-4 years. In the battle, these go out in days. They're shot down. They fall down. If the battery dies in no man's land, it's there. Nobody's going to retrieve it. These drones are like bullets. You need constantly new ones.
Брат Колумб, скажи пару слів. Установки в Бахмуті.
Установка зараз складна. Орки, не дивлячись про те, що казали, що не будуть вони стріляти, стріляють в повний зріст. Намагаються атакувати, але поки що в них нічого не виходить. Я думаю, що так буде і далі. Слава Україні!
Героям слава! Друзі, насправді обстановка тяжка і це все не так просто, як в TikTok і як із відео. Але Збройні сили роблять все можливе і навіть, мабуть, неможливо в даній ситуації. Хочеться багато чого сказати, але не можу. Я думаю, що ситуація виправиться, а ви не будьте байдужими, допомагайте Збройним силам. А ми будемо просто робити свою роботу. Тому що так треба для України. Слава нації!
Смерть ворогам!
An update straight from the boots on the ground in Bakhmut. Situation is difficult, and I've been saying this for the last 6-7 months about Bakhmut, because this has been the situation in Bakhmut for the last half a year. But the fact that Ukraine is still holding, and the fact that Russians haven't been able to take this settlement, in my eyes, it's a victory to Ukraine. POTUS officially announces that the United States will be supplying to Ukraine the very first 50 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. This is a historic moment in this war. After this, Germany's Scholz stated that Germany will be providing Ukraine with 40 of their Marder infantry fighting vehicles. In this video, we can see Bradley infantry fighting vehicles already in the Polish city of Wrocław. I cannot confirm if these vehicles are already being transported to Ukraine, but the United States has done it before. They send the vehicles, the equipment, and then they announce it later, only a few days before it arrives. So there wouldn't be a big time span between the announcement of the equipment and the actual arrival of the equipment. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Bradleys in this video are the Bradleys the United States promised to Ukraine. They just sent it half a month before. Why is this a historic moment? Because Ukraine has asked for these infantry fighting vehicles, tanks, helicopters and planes since the start of summer 2021. I remember covering this in my videos, and every country said no in the fear of escalating tensions with Russia. But now, after Russia has started terror bombing Ukrainian civilian infrastructure, things have changed. What is the Bradley infantry fighting vehicle? It is designed to carry infantry troops and deposit them within a couple of hundred meters of enemy positions. But knowing Ukrainians, they won't stop within a couple of hundred meters. They drive them straight onto Russian positions and dismount. They provide close support to Ukrainian infantry. They're lightly armored vehicles. Armor is about 30 millimeters thick. And they're lightly armed also with a 25 millimeter gun and possibilities for other offensive weaponry on the mounts. Why are Bradleys better than any infantry fighting vehicle in Ukraine as of yet? First of all, Bradleys were directly designed to counter the Soviet Union's BMP, and BMPs are being used on both sides. So Bradley would be the antidote to Russian BMPs on the battlefield. They are tracked vehicles, they are much more maneuverable, and they can traverse much more difficult grounds than wheeled vehicles. Right now the ground still has not frozen. I cannot believe it, but it hasn't. Anything with wheels on Ukrainian fields right now will sink in the mud. Anything with tracks even could sink, but they have a better chance of traversing the fields. Bradley fighting vehicles have modern combat systems, optics, firing systems, communications, stuff that BMP-3s even don't have on the Russian side. Yes, they're supposed to have them on paper. Videos from destroyed BMP-3s have shown that they don't have any of this stuff. But this is not it. We're talking about USA and Germany, but France is actually supplying Ukraine with their light tanks. You heard correctly, these are not infantry fighting vehicles, these are light tanks. The very first country to supply Western tanks to Ukraine. The tanks are called AMX-10RC, and they're also sending their armored personnel carriers Bastion. Armored personnel carrier is not an infantry fighting vehicle, but Ukraine will use all of these vehicles the same way. They will be used as infantry fighting vehicles and as heavy armor. It sounds weird, but they use them in blitzkrieg tactics. They even use Toyota pickup trucks in blitzkrieg tactics as heavy armor, penetrating straight through Russian lines. The Ukrainian spirit, I guess. The French light tanks have a 105mm main gun and they're on wheels, which means they cannot be really used right now anywhere except on roads. But as soon as ground freezes, these Western light tanks will be put into great use. Norway just pledged 10,000 additional 155mm shells to Ukraine. Some people might be getting bored with these numbers. Oh, every country announcing artillery shells every day. This is a huge thing because these wars are won by artillery. Artillery battles are happening daily, and if you win the artillery battle, you win the battle. And for that you need a lot of munitions, and there's a huge shortage of munitions on both sides. So every country who gives artillery munitions to Ukraine right now is directly contributing to victories every day. They were delivered from Norway to Poland by a C-17 transporter. My friends, I want to take this time and thank Patreons. I was able to get some rest in the New Year's. I took some vacation. It was 7 or 8 days. But in this time I also moved, so it wasn't actually a vacation. It was a very chaotic time for me of moving and changing cities. But I could do it thanks to the Patreons. I want to thank the biggest new Patreon, Joshua Batske. There, I butchered your name. We also have Robin Chinkivski, David Joitplak, Manuel Ruiz Arzola, Ole Jon. Thank you to all of these people, and if you like what I do, then please become a Patreon. Tier 10 and above, and I might be butchering your name. Thank you, my friends. Putin came out with his genius plan to save lives and stated that there will be a ceasefire on January 6th to January 7th, which is the Orthodox Christmas holidays. Well, if you know anything about the Russian mindset and their wartime thinking strategies, you know that Russians never ask for a pause, a ceasefire or peace if they're doing good in conflicts. Ever since the fall of the Soviet Union, Russian Federation has fought numerous wars, and every time they have behaved the same way. If they're winning, there'll be no pauses, no ceasefires. If they're doing poorly, they suddenly begin to talk about saving lives and doing the right thing. So this goodwill gesture to do the ceasefire is, I will translate it to you in the Western terms, we are weak. We need a pause to attack you later. That's how it is. That's how Russian wartime strategy works. The armed forces of Ukraine are getting ready for an attack to come from Belarus. Part 2 of taking Kiev. They have been getting ready for it ever since Russian forces pulled out from around Kiev. Now the Ukrainian defensive strategy is not to let the troops over the border. The defensive lines begin with the border. More and more Russian newly mobilized troops and equipment are arriving in Belarus daily. Perhaps they're only training there, perhaps they're getting ready for another assault. If they are, I don't think they will even get through the border defensive fortifications. Armed forces of Ukraine are ready for them on that line. A Russian Orlan 10 was landed in one piece by a Ukrainian electronic warfare weapon. Orlan 10 was equipped with containers including 2 small bombs. This is a big deal because this specific Orlan 10 was converted into an attack drone. Orlan 10 is not an attack drone, it's a recon drone. If Russians do that, the only reasons why they do that is because they're lacking attack drones. What can we read from that is that Iranian shipments are drying up. They're running out of stashes of Iranian drones in Russia. They don't have a good supply of attack drones and they're converting their recon drones into attack drones, which gives us a very good message that they are lacking. In these photos we can see the clever Russian mindsets of disguising their tanker trucks and logistics trucks as timber vehicles. It is clever, but it doesn't work as we can see from this photo. But from far away you couldn't actually tell the difference. I don't know how the Ukrainians can. Wagner PMC has promised Russian prisoners, if you serve for 6 months, all your sins will be forgiven and you will be released. Which is weird because this cannot actually be done because it is not in the Russian laws. Prigozhin has promised this personally to the prisoners, which means he is the only man in Russia above the law. He has shown this by criticizing Russian army decisions in Ukraine. Nobody can do that except for him. And now the time has come, 6 months have passed, when he releases the very first prisoners. Again, acting as above the law. Because according to the law, these prisoners should be back in prison. And in this video we see Prigozhin giving them instructions how to live a civilian life. Don't rape, don't drink too much, don't do drugs. Simple instructions. And as we can see, all of these men are broken. They have no legs, no arms. They come from a prison system and then 6 months of war, and it's Russia. I don't know what's gonna become of these men. These fresh satellite images show us pictures of Crimean Bridge. 3 months after its destruction, it has still not been fully prepared. And yes, we had some Russian propaganda videos of them installing new plates on the bridge. Well, they didn't fix it fully. And 3 months later, they haven't fixed it. Russians are not really good at fixing stuff. They are very good at destroying things. Ukraine, on the other hand, is different. As soon as something is destroyed, they try to fix it as soon as possible, if you're talking about the infrastructure or the bridges. Crimean Bridge would be a very important priority, and still it is not fixed. This also says something about Russian capabilities right now as a country. If this bridge is not being fixed, imagine what happens to the schools in Siberia or hospitals on the other side of the Urals. They are not a priority, they're just decaying. My friends, this is Kiev Post, Ukraine's global voice. And why I'm guiding you here, because they made a top 10 of pro-Ukraine YouTube warriors to guide you through 2023. And what you can see, I'm the first one in the list. I don't get much recognition on the global scale or in Estonia actually, so I want to guide your attention to it because it is the very first time I've been mentioned like that. They put here my video, who is the man behind Wagner PMC, which is one of my first documentary styled videos, not a Ukrainian update, but a grander scale video, I suggest you go and watch it. Thank you to Kiev Post for putting me in the list and putting me #1. I really appreciate that. As we all, I also do need appreciation for what I do. I will leave you with these dancing Ukrainian soldiers, a pretty sight. My friends, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for coming back in this new 2023. Will this be the year when Russia is defeated on the battlefield? I think yes. And until that happens, I'll be doing these Ukrainian updates, but I'll also be doing more global videos, documentary styled videos, which have animations, better edits. I suggest you go and watch them also. If you like what I do, subscribe to my channel and become a patron. Link is in the description below. Until my next video, my friends, Slava Ukraini.